¿Tienes?
It's recording.
Y ahora si hablo acá, te escucho, ¿sí? ¿Me escuchas?
Okay, let's try by Bluetooth maybe.
Okay.
This one with Bluetooth. If you want, you can cancel the video.
No, don't worry. It's gonna go. Don't worry. We can try anything we want. So you want to? You're listening from the phone. It's still from the phone.
Sure. Give me a second.
It doesn't work bad.
I want to go like the
Don't worry. I know,
Bluetooth settings.
of course. Don't worry. Just I'm gonna help you a little bit because it doesn't work the best. Vamos, tío. Vamos, tío, vamos. Dobar dan, kriptogemiđi. Momentalno imamo publika ljudi što slušat za test, da vidimo da li funkcionira sve kao što treba. Che napravimo še en test od scena, da vidimo kako se sluša.
We are getting started very, very, very soon, and that means in less than a minute, in a few seconds. Try to find your seat somewhere in the front. Thank you to the bar people for turning off the music. That is very nice of you because we're getting started now. To the people talking in the back, please don't do that. We're trying to have a panel debate today, and it's really disturbing if you talk in the back. It would be lovely if you come to the front. There are still some seats here. Join us for the debate. I will explain what's going to happen tonight. Can you all see me? Welcome to Hub Malta! Wonderful, wonderful that you are here. I was a bit worried that there is not going to be so many people, but there is a lot of people here. There is a lot of people here. I assume that is because you are, let's find out. Make some noise if you are supporting XRP. And make some noise if you know better. Okay. It's gonna be a fun debate. Gentlemen, take your seats because I'm just going to explain the concept. But before that, I make my regular announcement because many of you are here for the first time. My name is Ferris. We are Crypto Hub Malta, the blockchain community in Malta, and physically, right now, we are standing in Soho office. Soho office is a co-working space here in Malta. They have a spa and a sauna and a gym in the first floor. Second and third floors are offices that you can rent. They have co-working spaces as well. And here in the fourth floor is the event location that they also use with a kitchen for lunch during the day. So it's a lovely place. If you want to know more, you want to check it out, come talk to me, come to the people that are working for Soho. They will gladly show you around, and it's overall very nice to be here. We have meetups here every week, and tonight we are going to talk about XRP, yes or no. The format we have, and this is part of the culture here, you can always speak. Nobody will be censored. Keep it civil, keep it friendly. I know it's XRP, but we need to be nice tonight. And today what is special, I will be sitting there. We are all going to give a little introductory statement, right? And then the debate starts. But as you notice, there is a fourth seat empty. And the reason for that is, it's for you. If you feel that you want to participate, if you want to say something, if you want to confront someone, or if you just want to state your opinion, you can always raise your hand and we're going to say, okay, go, speak. But tonight, you can be part of it. It's called a fishbowl debate. Like a fishbowl, where you jump in and out. So you come, you say what you want to say, and maybe it's time to move aside and make space for the next person who wants to do the same thing. This is also the case for us. I think we are going to be sitting here maybe a little bit longer, but we are fishes as well, jumping in and out. Now, I have always personally tried to be neutral here. This is the mission of crypto. We embrace all of crypto. We say yes to Bitcoin, we say yes to Ethereum, we say yes to Solana, Cardano, whatever it might be. But there was quite a bit of steer in our Telegram group where we have been talking about XRP. It got a little bit heated. I saw there's like lots of like emotions brewing up, and now is the time to address it. Because if people disagree and don't talk about this, the temperature goes up, and I hope it's going to be a fun debate. Me, myself, I wrote the description, and I wanted to make it neutral, so I wrote all the bad things that I know about XRP, and then I had to write the good things, and I'm like, I don't know what to say. So I researched a bit, and I learned already many new things about XRP. Good things, informative things, but also there's like some other things that I'm going to address in a little while. Tonight we don't talk about, we don't put XRP or any project on the spot. It's going to be a debate, and in the end, most of us here want to be constructive and make something out of the time that we spent here. That is the whole reason why we started Crypto Hub, to exchange ideas and to maybe have an edge over somebody else. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and this is going to be the debate. So before we jump into it, I will make one statement that cannot be debated, and everyone knows it's true, whether you are for XRP or against. Epstein didn't kill himself. And with that, let's jump right into the debate. Okay, Valerio, you want to start?
Hello, my name is Valerio. I'm developing a project on the XRP Ledger for almost 4 years, I think. Yeah, almost 4 years.
Louder, please. Volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So, I will start again. My name is Valerio. I'm developing a project on the XRP Ledger since 2021. And I'm here pro XRP. But my approach is not from the Ripple standpoint. So I'm not here to argue about what Ripple is doing, how Ripple is using the ledger, how Ripple is using XRP, or whatever their financial interest is. I'm here just to represent the XRP Ledger community. There are a lot of developers, a lot of businesses growing on the XRP Ledger, and I'm here to represent them because I'm one of them. So, yeah.
Okay, I didn't prepare much of a big statement, but I have a lot of talking points ready, like ammunition, boom, boom. It's my starting point, and I also expressed this, like we wrote the description for the event. If any of you has checked it out on the platforms where we publish it, I wrote, of course, the Skeptic part of XRP, and the XRP people, they have a lot of things to say. Let me clarify. When I say XRP, XRP is the cryptocurrency on the XRP Ledger, which is XRPL. There was quite a bit of stir in the Telegram group about this. And so there's people that are from Ripple, and Valerio said this. Ripple is the company that built the XRP Ledger. And it's not the same, but we are getting into that. But what I wanted to say is, and I also wrote this in the introduction, that people in the XRP space, like the ecosystem, in the wider ecosystem, that includes both Ripple, it includes independent projects and developers, it also includes people that are just working for the infrastructure, if they run a node, for example, which is completely neutral from a technical point of view. They talk a lot about XRP, but the other people in the crypto space don't talk about XRP at all, because it is an isolated space. It's a corner for itself, and the reason for this is there's many projects. Bitcoin is the first one. Bitcoin is the immaculate perception. Nothing can be like Bitcoin. There can be no second Bitcoin. There is no second best, as Michael Saylor says. But apart from that, for any complex use case that requires smart contract capabilities, we have already Ethereum. We have 1,000 layer 2s that are getting launched by the minutes. We have many Ethereum killers, and we have many alternative consensus algorithm platforms that each have huge groups of users that are using it, companies that are adapting, developers that are building it, and they don't look at XRP because the innovation does not come from XRP. I had a conversation with Valerio last year in October, and he said, that's it. It was 2024. And he was like, that's it. XRP has NFTs now. I'm like, what? NFTs, they went live on Bitcoin in some abstraction layers in 2014, I believe. It's lagging behind for almost 10 years. We spoke about stablecoins. I will get into that, but my point is, there is XRP, but it's isolated. It's an echo chamber that is a little bit like Lord of the Rings, those ghosts that are just resting, and they come out and they hunt everyone. But nobody knows why, because nobody really knows what is happening with XRP. I'm open to learn, and I've been doing some research, but I found more skeletons than new ideas.
So hello everybody, I think you've seen me before. This is what my 9th, 10th time. Probably they like me here, I don't know, keep calling me back. Now, my name is Antonio, I have my own channel, it's in Macedonian, I know unfortunately, but somebody needs to do this for our country as well, right? So I'm going to go straight to the point. First thing that I don't disagree is that you need to understand what you're investing in. So, the first point that our organizer mentioned is that XRP doesn't have any advantages, that it's practically, how would you call it, behind than everybody else? Okay. Why is that not true? Because first of all, this is not a blockchain that was supposed to be bought by you guys. It was never meant to be public. This was not meant to be for everybody to buy. The idea of XRP, which has nothing to do with layer ones, they didn't want to do a layer one, they still don't have a layer one. They have a type of, let's say, blockchain, which is meant to be transaction layer. And that's what they do, and they do best. There is nobody in the world that does this like they do. That's why they have most money transfer partners in the world. Most of the banks are still using it, and now they're going to start using it even more after they finally wipe the floor with SEC. Let's not forget that part, the Commission of Securities in America. So, bottom line, we need to understand that this is not a technology for you. Unfortunately, it was never meant to be for you. The lawsuit that SEC started, it's actually what happened to make it, let's say, popular in the world, and everybody started, So this was supposed to be for the banks. The idea when they devised this blockchain in 2014 was meant for the banks, was meant for the big financial institutions. It was made to change SWIFT, to be the next level where SWIFT will be growing. So it wasn't meant for you to have it at all. The idea of XRP is to be liquidity. For example, let's say one country wants to transfer something to another country. When they want to do it through SWIFT, they need to pay a lot of money. Depends on how big the amount of transaction is, bigger the amount of fee. On top of that, we still, until this day, 21st century, sometimes we wait for 5 days for a transaction to be completed from one country to another. In XRP, you do this in 5 seconds. And again, the idea of XRP and XRP Ledger was never to be layer 1. They didn't want to have NFTs. This is just a plus. The idea of XRP was to be institutional blockchain, which will be used first and most important for transfers around the world. And they are doing it. I mean, this is just my starting point, right?
So you see, you see why even inside of that ecosystem we don't agree with each other.
True.
Go ahead, take him.
So yeah, definitely the idea behind the XRP and the XRP Ledger was transfer of value. So it was never meant to be store of value, and it most probably it will never be a store of value. Now, when we have such debates, I think it's important to see, to have a starting point and an agreement about the semantics. I know that I had some back and forth with Ferris because he doesn't believe in semantics, but for me are very, very important because then we know about what we are talking about. So yes, I agree about the fact that XRP, it's transfer of value. When they started in 2012, that was the original idea. Obviously, by the time and with the capacity of improving the technology and improving the blockchain, which is called XRP Ledger. Then
And also the same.
yeah. Then new features were possible to be implemented on the XRP Ledger. I agree with Ferris when he says that we are in a corner, and that's why I'm here, because I want to make the case for other developers and other businesses, like real life businesses that are developing on their ledger. We are not so many, and maybe we are not as many as Solana or other blockchains, but we are trying to build and we are trying to develop from our side. Obviously, like Antonio said, Ripple is the main player. They had the most money, and I have an argument against that as well. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, we started from there. I cannot change what I cannot change the initial ledger, the ledger number 1, which was validated in 2012. I'm in 2025, so I have to work with what it is now.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. And like, I didn't know these things before I started researching this like a little bit more thoroughly last week I started really looking into XRP a little bit. And I know that like most of you, I talk to you every week. You are fully aware of this, but you just don't care to address it. So what Antonio just said here, XRP has the most adoption by financial institutions. That's not the case. It's not the case. There's like a few banks that are using this for like some testing, and then in reality, they do not use XRP. They don't use XRPL. They use another product by Ripple called RippleNet to settle the transactions. And just like this like story that like XRP or Ripple or whatever is like, the semantics are important, okay? Like let's say that XRPL is replacing the SWIFT network. Like, I think we need to like provide a little bit of background information for this. Do you know what SWIFT is?
Yeah.
It's like SWIFT is the network. If you send money in Europe, we have IBAN, but internationally there's like 11,000 banks connected to SWIFT, and it's actually a messaging tool. So they are messaging each other on how they want to transfer value from, let's say, from the US to Europe or from Europe to Japan. I don't know. I'm giving some examples from the 90s here, from big economic hubs, because the SWIFT network is actually very old. It is something that is like, technologically speaking, on the standard of like the 70s or 80s. Back then it was really interesting to message another bank in another continent, but today this is like almost obsolete, and it's like also kind of comical for many crypto natives, like people like us that are dealing with blockchain every day. You have a financial transaction and then you do it on Friday afternoon and it doesn't arrive. If you're lucky, Monday morning. But like not even Monday morning, it's sure that it will arrive. However, those banks are not adapting XRP. There are some use cases, and like this like transfer of money. This is like, what year is it? This was developed in 2011. And it came out, it was launched in 2012. This was in a time, blockchain-wise, archaic. None of the capabilities that we have today were even thought of back then. And that's why XRP was marketed as like, we are transferring value because we're so super fast. And look at Bitcoin, ha ha ha, slow blocks, we are much faster. But then really, I wonder, even today, if I want to send money from A to B, why would I use XRP? Why would I not use Bitcoin? Bitcoin is much safer. Bitcoin is a store of value, and like, let's not get into that why Bitcoin is like a good idea to hold for long term. No financial advice, you know the drill. But like, banks are not, my point is, Antonio, banks are not using XRP. They are not. Yeah.
So actually that's not true, because you can check on your phone right away. The third largest bank in the world, all internal transactions are in XRP. Bank of America, just check. Anybody on the phone.
It's not true.
Just check.
We can check it right now.
Can anybody please check on Google
Check
and
it
write?
right now.
What does Bank of America? No, please do, please. Then another. Let's see if it's like what our friend over here said. So, how do we transfer money? We have Western Union. We have MoneyGram, right? Okay, MoneyGram. How does MoneyGram transfer money? Just check. They were partners with Ripple until 2020 when they were sued by SEC. Which means, no, you can check, this is all public information, guys. So it means that any transaction that goes through MoneyGram, this is how it looks like. If my friend Valerio wants to send money to anybody in Romania, he goes to MoneyGram and he gives them euros, let's say, just for this case, they're using Dracula money over there, whatever. So what does happen now? If you give 700 euros, these 100 euros are transferred into XRP, into this liquidity pool, and in the next 4 seconds they're transferred into the native currency of the country. For just let me say again, these you can check, they are all public knowledge. Currently, SBI is one of the biggest.
Right now.
Yes,
Somebody
please,
check
yes,
this.
of course.
Because there's an open seat and maybe
Of
somebody
course,
can
yes,
come here and read it
go,
out.
the gentleman.
Then like, come gentlemen, come here and read it out.
Of course.
Come do ChatGPT
Yes,
summary.
of course, please,
Short summary.
please.
Do the 10 biggest banks in the world use XRP.
I mean, this is the third largest bank in the world is using XRP for example.
This is perplexity, and it's written. Bank of America is actively involved with the Ripple ecosystem and uses the XRP Ledger technology.
Do the 10 biggest banks in the world use XRP?
But this is the third largest bank. But wait. You just said that no bank is using this. Did he say that, please?
You said the 10 biggest banks in the world are using XRP.
I said the third largest bank in the world is using XRP for internal transactions. Was it true? Thank you. SBI.
If anybody puts this into an AI,
So, but wait, I don't like it. It's true, guys. I just showed me. They showed you, right?
I'm very happy that like the dynamics here, all of you with your AI, you are now fact checkers. Okay?
Okay, next fact. SBI Holdings, the biggest bank corporation in Japan. Currently, SBI Holdings, all the transactions that are going from Japan to Philippines and backwards, any transaction that you send, is through the XRP liquidity pools. Again, these are just some examples that I give you out of the top of my head.
This is like completely taken out of context. Sorry. It's one bank in Japan that has a test with some transactions.
No.
They're
They're using it on an everyday basis. Check, please.
SBI is not a bank. SBI is a group of banks.
That's what I said. Corporate, the biggest corporate.
I agree with you. It's a
Exactly.
consortium of
Exactly, and SBI is actually the first investor in the Ripple Labs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but let's put that aside. Unfortunately for Mr. Ferris here,
So somebody, can you Google,
Yes, please, guys.
AI, what is the volume of these transactions? I tell you what the volume is, it's nil. And also they're not using XRPL to transfer the value, they're using Ripple Net. So all of this, wait a second. All of this, I researched this particular point, and the problem here is, those banks are not, like Antonio says, you're hoarding XRP. It's not for you guys, it's for the big banks. Oh, so you better get in quickly. It's not like that. They're using another product that is centralized, that is a fintech product, to message these things. They are not only optional and only in a very limited test environment with extremely limited volume. Please let me finish this. Sending some XRP from A to B. And this is in the case, one bank in Japan, for some of the transactions, are using this with some transactions in the Philippines. But I tell you what, even if they do that, this does not provide any value for the price and the market cap of XRP. Because even if they use it, it does not increase. There is no utility for XRPL. That's my point. Sorry, sir. You want to read something up? Please, come here. Come here, take the stage right now. You're a fact checker, go.
So, hi, my name is Tim. I'm with the gentleman in the middle. I read something. It says Japan has embedded XRP, which is financial infrastructure, through early investment banking integration. And something that says here, over 80% of Japanese banks are connected to Ripple-based network. Hold on.
It's Ripple Net, it's not
Hold on. RippleNet is, in my understanding, what is happening in RippleNet and what's happening in XRP Ledger, pretty much the same as we know from engineers in Ripple. And why is this happening? So I think this is what's going to happen. Each institution is going to have its own stablecoin. JP Morgan, Bank of America, they will hold their own stablecoin because they don't trust any other institution. For instance, Malta doesn't trust Gibraltar, so they have their own currency. So now they're going to need someone in the middle to be able to transfer value. You need another currency. For instance, I am Malta, you are Gibraltar, and we need to send money to each other. I don't hold your coin, you don't hold mine. So we need one that is regulated, one that is cheap and efficient. Who's there? Who's the highest regulated coin right now?
they beat SEC. Let's not forget that part. They wiped the floor. They didn't beat it. They wiped the floor with the Commission for Securities in America. And if I may, just with what my gentleman over here said. So unfortunately for Ferris, today there was two news coming out that nobody wants Ripple, obviously. I understand it. I know. It's hard when you hear these kind of facts. Again, facts. This is not something that we're thinking about, it's completely facts. Today they made announcement that Securitize will be integrating XRP Ledger for real-world asset tokenization. Again, for sure nothing. I mean, Securitize is just the tokenization level of BlackRock. And we know BlackRock is nobody special, just the biggest corporation in the world, right? Okay. Second of all, DBS, another platform, is currently integrating Franklin Templeton, which is the third largest corporation in the world, that everything that Franklin Templeton does will be tokenized on the XRP Ledger. Again, for sure nothing. These are just the two newest news today, fresh, out of the oven. And on top of all this, because the gentleman said that XRP Ledger is not used, currently Palau, it's a small country, right? Okay, I understand that now everybody will say, ooh, CBDCs, I understand completely. You're right, I understand you. But there is 2 points we need to understand here. You're investing in something because you want it to be decentralized, or you're investing in something because you want to make profits. I'm sorry guys, but not everybody here is for the technology. So in this case, let's put it simply. Ripple is the only company in the world that has its own private CBDC platform. And currently there are 4 countries that are building on this platform, which means any transaction in Palau, in Uruguay, in Montenegro will be run on the XRP Ledger, which means at the end of the day, no matter if you're paying in the local currency, you're still going to pay fee in the XRP coin.
What fee?
fee, 0.01 cent on every transaction. That's the fee that you pay on every transaction on the XRP Ledger, which means if you buy a beer in Palau, you're paying fee in XRP. And why is it so important? How does it get value? This is what our gentleman asked. For you to be able to transact, let's say how the liquidity works. If I want to send to this gentleman over here $1 million, it means in this liquidity pool of XRP, there has to be $1 million worth of liquidity for me to be able to transfer this transaction to the gentleman over there. If there is not enough, it means that I cannot transact anything larger than $1 million. So now imagine if the biggest institutions in the world, like we said, BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, because obviously nobody is using Ripple, they want to send any transaction anywhere or tokenize something. For you to be able to do that, this pool needs to be large in trillions. Because transactions that go between countries, not SWIFT, this is not messaging, this is transferring capital, this is not messaging. Which means that needs to be very large amount of XRP tokens for you to be able to transact from one to the other place.
Okay. So, sorry, what is your name?
Tim.
Tim.
We have a question here.
It's like 1 second for the question. You're coming next for the question. 1 second. You come. 1 second. You come next for the question. I promise you. I just want to. You said you made a really good point by saying in this Palau tiny island state with the with their own CDBC. Okay. What they cannot trust each other, and this is I thoroughly believe this is true. I don't believe that anyone who's tokenizing some coins, whether it's euro or the e-dollar or whatever it is, the Americans don't trust the Europeans, the Chinese don't trust the Japanese, and so on and so on. So what you are saying here is really completely misleading, because you are saying, oh, they don't trust each other, and that's why they are trusting Ripple. Because to settle these transactions between different stablecoin nets that they're building, these are actually private forks of XRPL. They are not connected to the settlement layer. How are they connecting the banks? How are the banks talking to each other? They are talking to each other with RippleNet. And RippleNet is not XRPL. Valerio, I was always ignorant of the semantics, but I see the semantics are quite important here. The fact is, what you pointed out, that they don't talk to each other, is super important. And the solution that Ripple has is RippleNet. But guess what? That's just another centralized.
I don't think they won't talk to each other. They do talk to each other. They will talk to each other.
How?
Through technology.
Through RippleNet.
Yes.
Yes, and Ripple. And why would they use RippleNet? Because RippleNet is just a product run by Ripple, 100% controlled by Ripple. It's a fintech centralized service. It is not a decentralized crypto project.
And how do you transfer the capital?
What capital?
The capital that goes from one to another, you just said that RippleNet is connection between financial institutions.
Again, if you look at these testing adoptions from this bank in Japan, sorry, the question will come just after this. If you look at this, RippleNet facilitates this in a fintech way. In the old centralized system, they have XRP as an optional if you want to settle. But I ask you something else. You say, oh, if they want to settle 100 million transaction, they need to have 100 million liquidity. No, they don't. They don't.
No,
No, they don't.
the size of the transaction. So don't take it out
To
of context.
make this simple, use dollar, euro. Simple as that. If you need to send, if Europe needs to buy oil, they need to buy it in dollars. They need to hold X amount of dollars. This is as simple as possible. So if you hold more dollars, you can buy more with the dollars what you can buy with the dollar. So Ripple will be, and I know you're thinking XRP will be exactly your face. No, and it will be the main currency that is used to transfer value.
No, but
I can take it further.
Take it further. We come to the question.
There's something called black pools, if I'm calling them correctly. This happens when let's say all the liquidity is dried up in Ripple. Black pools, people will come and buy your XRP coins for more money. This will happen in the XRP space because there is not enough. Everybody's looking at the Scarecrow account of XRP. There's still X amount of billions. That's not enough to be able to give all the institutions that are making stable coins. He's 100% right.
Okay. You know what those escrow accounts are that Tim is referring to?
Tell us.
I will tell you. But first I want to point something out, and then we come to a question. Tim, you're getting excited that people have a better way to use dollar and euro. We are here at Crypto Hub talking about how we are going to take the centralized system. We are not celebrating that we have a faster way to send dollar and euro. We are against that. You realize that? The reason for this is, it's fiat. It's printed money controlled by the government. And that's not like a reason to be proud. And I assure you,
Stablecoins will be as well.
but stablecoins is something else.
And stablecoins will be prison. So if you thought cash is a problem, stablecoin is prison. Imagine you looking at your fridge and saying, oh, Tim, you've got 20 pounds, and I'm locking your fridge right from my government office. That's a stablecoin.
But like, sorry, the point is much more fundamental. You need to familiarize yourself before you get so excited about XRP, how fiat works. And boy, you're in for a surprise. Let me tell you. Sorry, there was a question.
The question is, the real world asset is building on Solana and Ethereum. Why use XRP?
Who is building on
Real world assets, they are being built in Ethereum and Solana.
In Solana and Ethereum.
And Solana, and Ethereum.
But they
And
didn't
base.
decide, they decided. I mean,
Yes.
okay, so this was not my decision. I promise. I'm not from BlackRock. I promise. So BlackRock decided to actually integrate. It's not only Solana and Ethereum. Avalanche is integrated. Sui is integrated. So what they're doing is they're integrating several different blockchains because not everybody wants to have its real-world tokens on Ethereum, right? And can I just point on this part as we were discussing? Yes, true. I understand. This is exactly against the crypto technology. That's true. I'm not saying no. But this is what I said at the beginning. You either invest for the decentralization, which is part of my portfolio, and I believe in this idea, but if Ferris thinks that he's going to beat BlackRock and Franklin Templeton, he can think again. Because these institutions have been here for a while, they adapt and they overcome. And this is what we're talking about the stablecoins over here. What I'm trying to say is that, unfortunately for us, although we all would really want that, banks will not just wither and die. They will not just give up and say, you know what? Okay, you know, you can transact in Bitcoin. We're going to stop here. What did we see? We saw JP Morgan, which was trying to take down Bitcoin for like what, since it's made, just changed its mind and now it's using Bitcoin as a collateral for loans. What does that say? That these guys are going to adapt. But let's put it this way, again, if XRP is so bad and nobody wants it, let's put it this way. My portfolio always speaks the truth to me, which means whatever I invest, if the portfolio gives me positive income and profit, it means I made a very smart decision. Let's put it this way. I made a little statistic today and I checked from the bottom to the top, this bull market, to see how much I made in XRP and then to see how much I would have made in Bitcoin, in Nvidia, in Google, in every major asset in the market. Do you know what I saw? Currently, I made double than what I would have made in Bitcoin if I invested in the actual bottom. And I did invest in the actual bottom of XRP. Bitcoin made around 690%, XRP made 1,170%. In the same time, Apple did like 200%. If you see all the major Magnificent Seven, they didn't do even half of what XRP did this cycle. For beginning of this cycle, which was November 2022, until the top currently. So all the traditional and crypto finance started the same cycle and they are currently in the same cycle. And let's not forget the best part. XRP haven't even started its own cycle. This is just the previous all-time high. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this is the asset that is just applying for a bank. So Ripple just applied for a bank license. In the same time, they have their own stablecoin, which is complementary to this technology because at the end of the day, the stablecoin, all the transactions again are settled in XRP. And if you go forward and forward, there is plenty of things that are coming. IPO, let's not forget that next month we're expecting to have the spot ETF for XRP. And all this because nobody wants XRP. Again, my portfolio says, good job, my friend.
Sorry, I just want to make comments. You realize Ripple is a company that got 80% of the supply of XRP in 2012. And now they're becoming a bank because they're totally beating the banks with XRP. And that's why they're becoming a bank. You understand this doesn't make sense. right? One thing that you hear a lot in the XRP echo chamber is this: the price will go up. Oh yeah, exactly.
1000% more, guys.
But if you look at the reality of the fundamentals, there is zero adoption. There is like 250,000 monthly active users compared to millions and millions and millions on Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, multitude more. And it's not because the big fat banks are sitting there celebrating how amazing XRP is, because they know XRP is not working independently. It is built, I said this again before, on RippleNet, and they will not trust RippleNet in the same way that they don't trust other banks. Sorry, I just wanted to cut, don't think that because Ripple is becoming a bank, XRP is going to the moon. This is not how this works.
I agree. And to add on this, XRP hasn't even hit the all-time high.
I have a question here.
First, can I address the previous question about the tokenization? About the tokenization of real-world assets. So, now, technologically, there are so many blockchains, and every one of them can tokenize real-world assets. I don't think it's a question of if we have this one, why we have another one. If you think, when you say tokenizing real-world assets, if you think about financial assets, then that is the part where XRP Ledger is important just because of Ripple, or 99.99% of Ripple, because they are doing that. However, tokenizing real-world assets is not only about financial assets. There are so many other real-world assets apart from the financial assets that can be tokenized. And I think the XRP Ledger has an advantage over the others because of the programmability of the ledger. It's very used, and there are many more programmers that can use the XRP Ledger. Obviously, the most well-known about the speed and about the price, the fees that are very cheap. So I don't think it's a question of we should not build on something because something else exists. It's a question of who is doing the effort, and at the end of the day, I don't think it will just be one blockchain that will be that will rule all other blockchains, or in worst case, there will be only one blockchain because all the others will be extinct. So I don't necessarily agree about the fact that why should we tokenize real-world assets, or our effort should be on the XRP Ledger just because others are.
And here we have the voice of reason. I totally agree with that. And this is for me what I see as the big dilemma of the XRP space or the community. Because they're people that genuinely want to build on XRPL. Because Ripple, the company and so on, they made a lot of amendments later. Years after inception, they realized, actually people are not buying into this story of super fast and cheap and sustainable, blah blah blah. They want some real decentralization and some real tangible safety for whatever they're building, and they are in charge of this. Which is the case with most blockchain projects, and then we could get into a long debate which one is more decentralized and so on and so on. I don't want to say that, because I really agree with you. After I did my research last week, that what Valeria just said is so true. There will be a multi-chain world where there will be XRPL with some edges of tokenizing, of taking some of the value, but it will not mean that this will discard other projects. In the same way, and this is for me the most beautiful story, Ripple, the company, they launched their own stablecoin. And you know where they launched it? 70% of the liquidity is on Ethereum. The Ripple stablecoin. It's 90%, somebody says there. Please fact check me on this. A vast majority is not on XRPL. And they will argue, it's because the market is elsewhere and we just lure them into our... I don't think this is the case. I think the future will be that XRPL has some genuine use cases and some genuine edges for certain technical, very specific applications that I might not even be familiar with, that you might know better than me, where they can actually outperform other layer 1s or layer 2s or whatever, and just like another debate. But here's my problem. The problem is that XRP is not going to be the piece of technology it claims to be to connect the banks. And it's not going to be the, where is Tim? Where did you go, Tim? It's not going to be the piece. You said something very, very valuable today. The stablecoin hype, everyone and their mother is going to launch a stablecoin. Every local bank, the Bank of Valletta, trust me, trust my word here, I predict that they're going to launch their own shitty stablecoin, where they're going to tokenize some debt or some euro in whatever fancy way that they have, and that's perfectly fine. But it's going to be on their own private blockchain. And the fact is, nobody would ever use it if they don't secure it. And the only reason why this will work is because their own shitty stablecoin will be connected to other blockchains and other solutions, XRPL being one of them. But XRPL will not be the universal layer that is connecting every bank or every stablecoin. It's not going to happen. And that's where the value is.
That's the beauty of this debate today, because you have Ripple and you have everybody else. So I agree with you, and I'm building on the XRP Ledger. I don't necessarily buy that narrative. For me, and for everybody that is building on the XRP Ledger, apart from the Ripple, we know that it's not a question which blockchain will be the best. It's a question of which bridges will connect all the blockchains that will survive, most of them. Yes. So I
Come, lady. Come here, lady. Come. You want to speak? Come.
No.
Speak like this.
I just have a question for the three of you. Is what do you think would it happen after November 22nd when the bank changes everything?
ISO 2022?
Yes.
nothing.
You want to take it go?
Okay, with this I will give a final statement. I think that more or less we gave everything that we could. Now, first and most important, we need to discuss something. Hedging bets, right? You don't invest everything. I'm going to get to the point. You don't invest everything in one, right? Obviously. A lot of you people have Bitcoin, have Ethereum, have everything you have, right? That's why you have categories in the crypto industry, which means all of these projects, they are here for a different reason. As our gentleman said, interoperability is the future. As we can see right now, the real world asset tokenization is not on one chain, and is not mostly on one chain, and is not going to be. Which means in this case, what I was trying to explain to you is that when you hedge your bets, you put on several projects that are most promising. You see what they're offering, you see what they're explaining, in this case, what Ripple as a company behind XRP, which is their main project and main product, was explaining this as me and Tim and Valerio mentioned over here. So what I'm trying to tell you is that at the end of the day, some of you here are for the technology, some of you here are for the money. 90% over here are for the money, let's not be kidding ourselves over here, which means at the end of the day, if this narrative brought the price to bring you 1000% for the last 2 years in your portfolio, you did the right choice, guys. Let's be honest about this. And I'm not married to XRP, I'm not going to keep XRP until I die. The cycle will finish, I'll sell it, and then I'll buy it again when the next cycle starts. In the meantime, we're going to see how this is going to end up. That's why I said there is so many positive news about this project. IPO, we said spot ETF coming, we said a lot of positive things about this project. Again, centralized or not centralized, in my portfolio, I have HBAR. Hedera is a centralized project. Everybody knows that. They have what? 20 nodes that are all on the same company, it's the largest in the world. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm currently 700% up in Hedera. Was it wrong? Did I make a mistake? I mean, again, depends how you look at it. But ISO 2022 is another very good point. Now, both gentlemen over here is saying, it's not important. Okay, let's put it this way. So, me and him, we were communicating exactly about this question.
We're talking about this.
Let's put it this way. Now, I sent him an article of 99 Bitcoins, one of the largest, let's say, news agency about crypto. I sent him an article from Binance. I sent him an article from Tangem, one of the largest...
You sent me an article from CoinMarketCap. That's not a legitimate
wait a
source of information.
So, what is the meaning of ISO 2022? After SWIFT is gone in November, it's going to be a new system called ISO 2022. On the main page of ISO 2022, they explain that there will be cryptocurrencies that will be practically allowed to be part of this new rail of messaging between the 11,000 financial institutions in the world. They didn't specify which ones they're going to be. They didn't specify what will be the actual, let's say, in this case, what you need to have to be adopted in this kind of a standard. But let's put it this way. Ripple, the company behind XRP, is part of the standards body of ISO 2022. Again, not important, obviously. They chose Ripple.
It is not important.
Wait. They didn't choose Solana. They didn't choose Ethereum. They chose Ripple to be behind the standards of the ISO 2022, and XRP is obviously not going to be compliant. And in the same time, we said 4 different types of, I would say, largest news in the crypto industry said is going to be compliant, but him, without finding any facts, he said, no, it's not going to be compliant. What I'm trying to say, guys, choose what is good for your portfolio. You're not going to beat BlackRock. You're not going to beat Franklin Templeton. If you think that you're going to, you're lying to yourself. I'm very sorry, but everybody here wants what? Free economy. Free economy means everybody can buy whatever they want to buy, which means you cannot stop BlackRock from buying Bitcoin. Neither you can stop Fidelity, neither you can stop Franklin Templeton, and you cannot stop them from doing whatever they want, buying XRP, buying Ethereum. So be smart, swim with the whales, and choose what is right for your portfolio. You're not going to change the world with 1,000 euros in your pocket, but you might try to change something if you have 1 million. But if you want to get to 1 million, unfortunately, you're not going to get with Bitcoin, because again, I would have made 600% in Bitcoin because it's late in the cycle, but I made 1,100% in XRP. Sorry, bro.
Okay, that was very, so thank you very much. Indeed, we did talk about this, and this is why I am very surprised that you bring it up here. Because
It was me.
no. You brought up, Antonio, you brought up our discussion.
Yes, of course.
Which, like, I am very surprised that you mentioned this, because I literally proved to you that XRPL is not ISO 222 compliant. And I will repeat it to you again. And like, I mean, I don't want this to be personal, but as a matter of fact, Antonio sent me some very general articles, like 2 pages, like, oh yeah, here are the best coins to buy to be ISO compliant. But there was no substance. I mean, there was no content. There was literally just opinion. Like my dad said this. Oh, but my dad is stronger than yours. Well, my dad is factually accurate. And that is very important if you want to make money. So let me rephrase and summarize to you what I was showing this kind gentleman who is in a very risky financial situation if he thinks that that XRP is ISO compliant.
It is
XRP.
It is ISO compliant.
We talk about this. If some of you are developers here, please like put up your hands and like fact check me on this, because I researched this to the point that I went to the extensive ISO documentation, and those are thousands of pages, thousands and thousands of pages. And I went to the primary source of the actual ISO 222 standard, and I explained to Antonio the problem with ISO and XRP is that XRP is using JSON files to message. This is a format of messaging in the blockchain that is hard-coded into the core of XRPL. Valerio, you can confirm this, because every developer that is using XRPL knows this. Now the problem is that ISO demands XML format. And this is a fact. This is not an opinion, and it doesn't matter if 1 million trillion quadrillion followers say it is so, because it is not. The problem is XRP uses JSON and not XML. So what Ripple, the smart company behind XRP, did is they're using, again, their centralized system, which is not a blockchain product, to shortcut it. But that means XRP, the currency, and XRPL, the ledger, is not ISO compliant, but the centralized product is. Now, why is this a problem? If you buy XRP, the value will not be captured by that coin. But there's other coins that are ISO compliant. And that is why XRP is not a good long-term investment. Now, talking about long-term investment, Antonio was pointing out that some people, they bought Bitcoin. But really, Bitcoin is already so high. You're not going to make it with Bitcoin. Well, I would argue this is not the case. And here's why. Antonio, let me ask you, what is your price where you are happy with XRP, where you say you're going to sell it? Today, XRP is €3, €4, how much is it?
The next time it starts moving up, I'm going to start selling.
What is the price? Is it €20?
6, I'm expecting 6.
6. So Antonio sits here like, haha, I bought XRP at 30 cents. And if it goes to 6, like times 20, I'm rich and I'm going to sell it. Now the people here that are sitting on their Bitcoin, they are not planning to sell their Bitcoin. For those of you that don't understand what this means, let me explain to you. The people that bought Bitcoin, they bought Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the final destination. It, in their belief, is going to be Bitcoin and only Bitcoin. And that means those people are never going to sell their Bitcoin. Now the people like Antonio that say, oh my God, XRP is going to $6 or €6 or €100, and then I'm going to be rich because I'm going to sell. They are saying this because they know that it will maybe through hype and speculation go up, but not through adoption. They know that XRP is just a vehicle to another goal. And that is the difference. I'm talking about Bitcoin because it will change the world. People are talking about XRP because they don't understand Bitcoin and they think that XRP is a faster way to get rich, which it's not.
Actually, it's not true, because I don't speak like that. So, although I agree with you that Bitcoin is store of value, that doesn't mean that it's the only value in the world.
Exactly.
Transfer value is as important as store of value. Yeah. And there are projects building on other blockchains, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, XRP Ledger, and these projects will be real case businesses. So by saying that everybody will just have to buy Bitcoin and keep it there for dear life without using it, it's like, yeah, I agree. It's a store of value, but there are other values in the world. Okay. We need to tokenize different assets. How are we going to tokenize them? Just because you hold Bitcoin, you are going to tokenize them? No. It needs to be a company that will build the system where you tokenize this asset.
Exactly, it's useless. Bitcoin is useless for this.
Bitcoin is useless.
One second.
Wait. How can you build an application on Bitcoin?
No.
Can you tokenize on Bitcoin?
No.
So it's useless for this. I mean, that's why we have blockchain technology. So you have blockchain technology on different types. Okay, let's again, I'm very sorry, but I have to go from the beginning. First of all, let's put it this way. CoinGecko, one of the largest sites that are keeping track of everything, right? So they built a special category, set the category's name, ISO 2022. But for sure, CoinGecko doesn't know anything. And that's why they put XRP over there. Obviously, they didn't know. I'm sure they didn't speak with friends.
Do you know what CoinGecko is?
Wait. So, what did we say now? No, it wasn't general. It was completely, for example, Tangem, again, one of the biggest cold wallets in the world, right? They say, this, and this coin are ISO 2022 compliant. No, it wasn't our opinion of their grandfather. It was an opinion of the company that actually works with blockchain technology. So obviously, I don't know the technical part to go through the pages, but I do believe these largest, I would say, entities in the crypto industry that actually tells us that this is true. So they are all lying. Again, I will leave it up to you. Second thing, yes, true.
It's a voting on the line. It's not like that. It's not yes or no. It's like,
if you don't mind. So let's put it this way. Bitcoin, how much is right now? 2 trillion. Okay, how much profit you can make? So let's put financial, let's say, I would say financial picture of all this. What did we say? Bitcoin is the end game. I completely understand and I completely agree. That's true. Bitcoin is the store values end game. But as Valerio said, there are 25 different categories. Decentralized memory, Internet of Things, You have plenty of categories that are solving different types of problems that Bitcoin cannot. Period. He cannot. That's it. Now another thing is, if you're trying to get rich with Bitcoin, because again, everybody's here for the finance, nobody's here for the tech, maybe 3 people, I don't know, in the crowd. Let's put it this way. You invest in altcoins, you use the actual Bitcoin cycle. You buy when Bitcoin is low because the altcoins will be lose like 70 to 80% of their value. You sell when the cycle finishes. That's why we have the halving. That's why we have 4 years Bitcoin cycle. And then you end up having a lot more money to buy Bitcoin next cycle. So I'm not using this, I'm not married to XRP. At the end of the day, XRP is just a vehicle, as Mr. Ferry said, just like I have Cardano, just like I have Avalanche, just like I have 25 different projects in my portfolio. But this one turned out to be very profitable for me. So as I said, Bitcoin is the end game, but if you use altcoins, you can buy a lot more Bitcoin than if you just try to buy Bitcoin.
It's raining.
It's raining, okay. Sell your XRP, it's raining.
Hi, I'm Edward. I've been into XRP since 2017. Just to give you a bit of background about XRP.
If you think it's bad to be standing in the rain now, wait about the future of XRP. This will be far colder. XRP will die out.
Just here on the stage and say this again. Sorry, God. But it's okay, don't mind, guys. I don't own XRP. I just make profit out of it. That's it, don't mind. So let's give the gentleman some attention, please.
Okay. So regarding my reservation about Bitcoin, my only reservation, I'm not a XRP maximalist or a Bitcoin maximalist. I think there will be many projects that are going to work, and I think there are going to be several winners. I don't think it's just going to be one winner. What I'd like to say about Bitcoin, I follow Michael Saylor, obviously MicroStrategy and BlackRock. They have bought substantial amount of Bitcoin, but if you look at how they bought the Bitcoin, they actually took out loans. Okay, so when you are highly leveraged, okay, the biggest problem you have is if the people that gave you the loans want to call back those loans, then whether it's Michael Saylor or BlackRock, they're going to be forced to sell their Bitcoin. Now the problem with that is this: they know when they're going to sell, but you as a retail investor who has a very small percentage of Bitcoin could be left in the lurch, because let's take the price today, which is 113,000. If all of a sudden Michael Saylor and BlackRock are forced to sell their Bitcoin or part of it, and at the moment they own, I think, between them around 13%. Okay? If they decide to sell, they're going to affect the market, and the price of Bitcoin can go down to 60K. What happens to the guy that bought Bitcoin at 80, 90K with the promise of making 200? They're going to be hit hard. So this is the biggest problem I see with Bitcoin. With XRP, I wanted to say something earlier about XRP. So XRP, before the SEC took Ripple to court, okay? First of all, if you look back at the history, you can see that in 2017, okay, and 2018, there was actually a period when XRP was valued at 350, okay? Now, you asked that the coin was not being used. In 2017, 2018, XRP was used by the biggest exchange in South Korea. Okay? Now, just by the volume that was generated in South Korea, it managed to reach a price of $3.50. I'm talking in 2017. So, let alone, what is the potential? Okay, so my argument is, with regards to XRP, the potential is huge. And I think that when they're talking about price points going up to $20, $30, I think that's realistic. $100 might be a different story, but I think that the use case, it has multiple use cases. Just one last thing about why people should use XRP and not Swift. XRP is used. Why will banks use XRP and not the Swift system? It's very simple. All banks, let's take HSBC Malta, sending money to HSBC in Germany. It's not only the problem of the 2 to 3 days for it to settle. That is one problem. The biggest problem they have are two. There's a problem with exchange rates, which you don't know what the exchange rate is going to be in 2 days' time. So you never know what the fees are.
Speak in the mic, please.
Okay. Trying to speak in the mic. Okay. So what I'm explaining is the reason why the banks will have to use XRP and not Swift is twofold. One is there's an issue with the exchange rates because if a transaction takes 5 seconds, there's no problem of exchange rate anymore. That's completely out of the water. Slippage. The second the problem with the Swift system today is because it takes 2 to 3 days to settle, the exchange rate, people don't know what it's going to be. The banks don't even know what the exchange rate is going to be in 2 to 3 days' time. So the person that's sending money doesn't even know what the fees are. But the biggest problem, the biggest advantage for the banks today is, or in the future, will be this. Today, a bank has to pre-fund a bank on the other side. So HSBC Malta has to pre-fund HSBC Germany before the money even gets there. So what's the problem with that? They're called nostro vostro accounts. Nostro vostro accounts means pre-funded account sitting on the other side. Capital is wasted. Why? So I pre-fund an account in Germany with $500,000, but I only need to transfer 100,000 per day. What happens with the other 400,000 that is sitting in the bank in Germany? It's sitting idle. It's not being utilized. Now imagine a situation where there are no longer nostro vostro accounts. Okay.
Look, the things are getting too optimistic for XRP. We're going to go with you. Thank you so much for the comment. Everyone got wet, but we are still going to stay inside. We always try to finish at 9 o'clock. Listen, catch this gentleman and throw him out in the rain. No, talk to him about XRP, okay? Also, many thanks to you that we had this conversation. I see there's much more steam coming, and me and the other people from Crypto would be happy to facilitate another debate like this, maybe with some prepared fact-checking that we can put on the slides for the future. Next week we're going to talk about MetaMask. There's somebody from MetaMask coming to talk here, and just a short shout out to the people supporting us, WH Partners, the crypto lawyers that we prefer, and the Bit Research. They are doing research on the Bit, on the blockchain. Of course, if you want to know anything about advanced DeFi, go talk to the Bit Research. We have to wrap it, but talk to you at the bar. Let's put on some music, and thank you very much for tonight.
Just debate, come on. We're all grown-ups here, right? Oh, it's going on.